we have a special guest here today, and he's a very familiar face in the community, I would say, right? And like I've already mentioned, I've never liked insurance until I met someone who literally tells me that how important insurance is in your life. So I bought that, and in fact, I bought the insurance as well.
Okay.
So, so I believe that it can benefit the community, I would say, right? Uh, so that's the reason why we brought in Mahathir, not the PM, of course. But he's a really nice guy. Let's get to know him better, isn't it? Right, Adi? I think you know him longer than I do.
Yeah, actually, Mahathir is my schoolmate since I was in secondary school. Yeah, so this guy is full of energy. He's full of energy, and since secondary school days, he will be the one. He's the guy who, if you have a party, right, you will call him in.
Right.
You will make your party successful. So
Right.
insurance, people say, can be something quite dry, but let's hear from Mahathir. You might never know, he might just surprise you how important insurance is. And of course, why he got into insurance. And, we want to know as well why he get into the industry, right? So
You want to introduce him?
I'll let you introduce him first. You are the best person to do that.
Okay, so without further ado, let's introduce our guest speaker today. He is none other than Mr. Mahathir himself.
Hey guys, thank you for having me over. I think too much sweetness in your words, like I know. And Ardy, yes, I may have known you for a long time, but not so much of the guy to be in the party.
Right.
I'll be too shameless.
But I can say you can be fun in parties, lah, I would say, right? Isn't it?
Yes,
Right.
shameless lah. That's right.
Tell us about yourself, bro. How long you've been in
Okay.
Insurance, and why insurance?
Okay, just like life is good, or life was good for me. I was in Bali. After I left uni, I was studying mechanical engineering. I got a bachelor's in mechanical engineering from University of Queensland. Right after that, I left Australia and I went to Bali and I got myself into a business of doing interiors, design consultancy. I had my own studio until that was from 2004 until 2009. That's when I decided to come back to Singapore, regroup. And then that's when one thing led to another. A friend led me to this insurance industry, and I've been since I got my license in early 2010 right till now. That's about 10 years, bro.
Yeah, well, 10 years is a very long time, isn't it, Adi?
Yeah.
Mhm.
If you have a son or a child, right, you will be in primary school already. Taking PSLE soon.
Okay, what is your common challenges that you faced in insurance, that is?
The common thing that I would say more on the lack of understanding of what is the true purpose of it. I have to say that. And of course, many is not aware of the importance of it.
Okay, people tend to be confused, right? When it comes to insurance and financial planning, because we are going to talk about financial planning today, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay, so maybe from your experience, maybe you can just tell us briefly exactly what's the difference, bro? Insurance and financial planning.
Let me pose a question back to you guys.
Right.
Right. Have you guys ever bought insurance? I believe so. Yes, you guys bought insurance?
Yeah.
Are you guys still buying insurance from the same person, or you guys already bought insurance from some other person? Or your insurances come from different person?
Adi?
For me,
I threw the question at you guys. So,
okay, my first insurance that I bought because I wanted to support a friend whose girlfriend was selling insurance. Then the second time I bought insurance was because a friend was selling insurance I wanted to support. But eventually, these two people actually drop out of the industry, and I actually got someone else who I don't even know who actually take care of my portfolio. So yeah, a lot of reorganizing.
okay, let me since okay. Actually, Ardy just answered the question for you, Vaseline. Okay, a person who's an insurance agent or insurance agent, they just sell a policy,
Right.
and they are no longer serving you. So this is an insurance agent, or they are in the industry and then they left, or they take the industry as a stepping stone to jump into some other thing. A financial planner will walk with you from day one, from the time you are single, to the time that will plan for you, or how you want to accumulate your wealth at the soonest time for your marriage, and then talk to you of planning for your next big ticket item, your housing, and then start talking about your children, and start talking about when is your children's going to be taking care of you, and then your retirement, when's you going to be retired. That is financial planning. And insurance policies are just the product for you to achieve all that. So you see, so an insurance agent is just probably somebody who just sells the insurance and he's no longer there. He's going to come back to you, or maybe some years later, then maybe you'll see them in the industry.
Right. So you are more of a financial planner.
I'm a financial planner because I don't call my clients clients. I call them, they are my friends. Because I make sure that they can call me anytime, because certain insurances, they need someone to explain certain things. So especially when it comes to claims, claims is important. So you need that's why I say my clients are my friends, so I consider them as friends. So, and friends, you can call your friends anytime.
Right.
Clients, maybe you don't call at certain hours, you don't do that. But my friends, I say, you're my friend, call me if you need it, especially, when it's urgent kind of thing.
Okay. So you cover education, right? And you cover medical insurances as well, right? So I'm just wondering, because in our community, a lot of us are a bit skeptical when it comes to insurances, because most of them, as you know, as Muslims, they were thinking, hey, insurance are involving, things like gambling and stuff like that,
I understand.
things like that. So maybe you want to clarify as to why you think insurance is really important, especially for our Malay Muslim community to buy.
This is a very interesting topic in itself. But I won't go into the details of the, the concern of our community about these issues of maybe permissible, or it has like, certain things are not being clear.
Right.
We can leave that for another session, another topic, because it's quite in depth. But just on the surface, it's important for anyone in Singapore. I will just give an example, a straight, simple example. For us, you're going to get married, got to buy a house to provide shelter. And it is in our community, as our faith, also to provide shelter for your family is important. Now, we do not have a product in Singapore or which is permissible for you to get a product, for you to buy a house where it's permissible. We end up having to go through the traditional way. We're getting the bank interest. We don't have a choice. Right? We are in the situation where we don't have a choice. However, it's a demand, it's a command that you provide for your family, a shelter.
We don't have a choice when it comes to Sharia compliant bank loans. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yes, we don't have it. We don't have. So that's why I'm using the word permissible.
Right.
We don't have it. But in a situation of someone like us, we have to provide. Similarly, in the angle of insurance, where we are living in a Singapore, we do not have the alternative products for that. So, but then, it's more of an obligation for us to not be a burden for the people that we leave behind in the event, or the people that are going to be our family if we get ourselves into a serious illness, disability. Because we're going to be, if you are a breadwinner, right, and a sole breadwinner, suddenly all these liabilities or daily liabilities become transferred to your family members and becomes a burden. And in our faith, again, we should not be doing that. So therefore, to put it down, it's come back to the same, that we are obligated to take it. And that's why I say it goes back. That's why it goes back to the intention. Why you're getting the insurance in the first place? There's so many types of insurances, and they all serve different purposes.
Okay, what is the most popular kind of policies that our Muslim community will buy?
Okay. First, I want to say health insurance. Okay. There's a difference between health insurance, protection insurance, retirement, children's education. They are all different, because some of them are towards protection, some of them is towards wealth accumulation. So for health insurance, most commonly is, for our community, is health insurance, which is MediShield upgrade, which is a hospitalization plan. Health insurance is hospitalization plan, which a lot in our community would tend to get.
Right.
One of the reason is because they are approached on the street by an agent who will tell them to get it. Secondly is you just have to use your CPF, MediSave, All right. So there's no cash really outlay. So it's quite common. But the thing is, it's only one part of the whole thing. So this one part of the whole thing can become a problem later at the point of claims.
So you are saying that basically those insurance that the government mandatory for people to actually buy might not be enough. Just covering just a certain portion, certain part, in case something happens.
Yes.
So maybe can you just give an example?
Okay. Like the one that we have is actually okay. The government insurance is plan that we have from MediSave, MediShield. But some people think that MediSave is an insurance. Some people think MediShield is insurance. Some people say I already have MediSave. Why I need insurance? Okay. First of all, MediShield is an hospitalization plan. Okay, it covers you for any treatment within the government hospital. We call it restructured hospital.
Right.
For class B and class B2. Okay, this is how the health insurance in Singapore for hospitalization, they go by class B2 or class C ward. So it's a subsidized.
Right.
Okay. But if you are in a hospital, you're seeking treatment, which I always tell people, put yourself in a situation whereby you are unwell, you need treatment.
Right.
You want your treatment to be limited to the ward that you can stay, or you want to have options, usually. And if you are in class C or class B, have you seen the ward in Singapore for class C and class B, and the people that your next bed, do you want to be there? Is it a healing environment? More than often it's not. To me personally, when I walk in one of the class C, class B, no, it tends to be not so environment where it can get you heal fast. Okay, but the insurance is good enough to take care of your bills when it is big, when you got really huge bill. Okay, so buying an upgrade which they recommend, gives you the option to go to class B, class A ward, up to a private hospital using your MediSave.
Right.
So people say, oh, okay, use my MediSave, you can get this additional coverage. But the thing is, you also are not 100% covered, because it only gets you good when the bill is really big, humongous. Then you can portion of it, it makes sense. Otherwise, if it's anything below 3,000, right, you have to pay yourself. It becomes your car insurance excess. When there's you pay a certain amount, the rest is all taken care by insurance. But anything below that certain cap, you have to pay. So the MediSave, MediShield upgrade, the MediShield upgrade that your insurance agent sells you, paying using your MediSave, is just like that. It gives you a cap. Anything above that, then you pay that minimum sum, catch yourself. The rest is covered by the insurance. So that's only good if it's really the big bill is huge.
Right.
When the bill is small, then you end up having to pay yourself.
So in a way, you're trying to say that insurance tend to lighten our burden in that sense, right?
Yes, definitely. Like I say, when your bill is huge, which is for Singapore, if you enter a hospital just for 1 day or 2 day stays, your bill can be in the thousands.
I see. Yeah, that I totally agree. I want to say, because medical expenses in Singapore is really high, especially so if you decide to go into an hospital that is privatized, right? And if you choose those one-bedder kind of ward, so it can get really, really high. Yeah, I have couples of insurance. One I bought for for me and my wife. Basically, they are for medical expenses and all that. While my children are basically for education and all that. So why do you think it's really important for our community, especially to buy insurances for their kids' education in that sense?
Okay. For me personally, right? I went to study in Australia. Back then, we don't have so much universities in Singapore. Our university option are really
There's only two.
two. Yeah, but my time there's only two. There's only
NTU and NUS, right? Yeah.
You got to be the top notch. Our brother here. Our brother Ardy is one of the top notch.
Which university you went to?
NUS.
Ah, okay.
Our brother here is one of the top notch.
And you major in?
Sociology.
Sociology.
So you know, I'm still far from him lah. You know, he's
No,
still
I
my
wish I
mentor
was
in
in your
that sense.
place. I could travel, you see, and study at the same time.
So you went to Australia, one
I
of the
went to
university
Australia,
there.
yeah, uni there.
What do you major in?
Mechanical engineering.
Right, right.
So, see, the reason is
Okay. So sorry, I have to stop you there because he doesn't look like someone from mechanical engineering, isn't it? Huh?
You look
Okay.
like the architect, not the engineer.
there's something,
Less insurance agent, isn't it?
there's
Okay.
something with me. Okay.
Right.
Okay. The thing is, okay, I will just bring you back to the education part where it's important. Okay. Our parents, I wouldn't say my parents. I'm not putting the blame on my parents. Okay.
Right.
Our parents or my parents at least, you know, it's not. It's typically the older generation of parents. You know, they have lots of children, and this is not really something that they see in a long run.
Right.
And furthermore, to add the thing, when I was growing up, I don't look like the kind that can go far lah. Cannot make it lah. This kid cabut sekolah, can skip classes, you know, tend to hang out, play outside. There's a lot. You know, doesn't look like the kind that can excel in studies. Because I don't barely pick up any book lah. Alhamdulillah, I was like, okay, I'm not too bad lah. So when I come to a certain point, I do well in school. I do well as a person more than in school. And I see more of a challenge for myself to pursue study. I do not see myself as like, I must study. No, because my parents don't put into me like, you must study, you must study, you must study. Because
Right.
I'm the kind of like, no, just leave me alone. I'll just do my thing. So I come to a point in my life that I feel like I want to study because I want to achieve something for myself. And of course, at that time, there's no finance for it. I cannot go to any uni in Singapore. I have to go uni overseas. Luckily enough, at that time, just before a few years before I finished my NS, I got into a motorbike accident.
Ah, I'm so sorry to hear that.
Knocked down by somebody else, and it's somebody else's fault.
Okay.
And I got some insurance payout because of that.
And this is in Australia.
It's in Singapore
This
before I
is
went.
in Singapore, okay.
So because the guy knocked me, so I did a silver claim against him.
Right.
So he paid me that cover for part of my studies. So I got some money there to start my studies overseas. And of course, I asked my parents for some help. They're able to put something together. On top of that, I got some loans from some of the institutions in Singapore. And when I was in Australia, I managed to get to Australia. And then when I get there, I was working at the same time studying. So when the minute I landed in Australia, I really start to look for where what I need to do to get myself another additional label on my passport to say that I can work. Because you're going there as a student visa, you cannot work. So I got to go and apply additional visa. So on my passport, they will put another label that I'm allowed to work. So when I get to Australia, I already started working. So from there, it becomes important, especially for Singapore. The cost of education in Singapore is ever increasing. If you're talking about the inflation for study, education inflation for Singapore is at 5%. And in today's price, today, if you have a kid who's ready for uni, and we're talking about NUS, 3 years course, and we're talking about subsidized by government, and haven't include your kids punya food, travel, lodging that you still have to pay for while they are in uni, you're looking at about 3 year course, about 30 to 40 grand, 3 years. And this is really subsidized by the government. So 30 to 40,000.
Right.
So, and if you don't have that funds ready, you got to find it somewhere. And in Singapore, the demand, the pressure for having a good education is very intense.
Right.
I think at this stage of my life, I think if you take a rock, this is what I always say, if you take a rock and you throw it into a crowd of Singaporean, you sure hit a degree holder. You sure definitely to hit a degree holder.
Right.
But it's still not so common in the sense that you take a rock to throw at the crowd, you get a master's yet. But then that's the trend now. The trend now, everybody going for masters. A degree is a common thing in Singapore.
Right.
So yes, to answer your part about education, how important it is to plan for your education, it's important in that sense. Unless you really feel like, okay, it's not a core priority you don't feel that it's a priority for your kids.
Yeah,
I
true.
think every parents have that.
I think for most
Concern.
Singaporean parents, they would want their child
Yes, it's
to have a degree.
at least minimum a degree now. You know,
How much, Adi? I was just wondering, how
Yeah.
much do you spend literally for your university studies back then?
Uh, Actually, at that point in time, I was using my dad's CPF. But after the first year, I managed to get a scholarship from MOE.
Ah, okay,
See?
Yeah.
okay,
So
okay.
that helped to pay the bills lah. And so, but otherwise, most of my friends, I guess, would be about 5,000, 10,000, like what, 5 to 8,000.
Yeah, so I guess you are one of those lucky ones who managed to get
Wait, I
scholarships,
have to
isn't
stop
it?
you. I have to cut you there.
Right.
He's one of the very lucky one, not lucky one.
Oh,
Okay?
one of the
He's a
very lucky
one.
ones.
Okay.
Right, right. But I guess not many out there. But I guess not many out there are.
In our community, back then, I would say very few. I mean, to my
Yes,
experience,
yes,
it's
yes.
so big to say he's a very lucky one.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, I guess, all the
Shining
influence.
star lah. The parents doa good lah. You know, go straight lah.
Alhamdulillah.
True, I totally agree. When it comes to when you mention about everybody's going for masters nowadays, right? Degrees, literally like not enough in that sense, right? So if everybody's going for the same thing, so it creates that competition, right? And that's the reason why our education system gets harder. That's one. It gets more expensive as well. So I think for our listeners and our viewers as well, it's really important to plan
Plan ahead.
your children education, because I feel likewise, because I truly understand what Mr. Mahathir is saying right now.
Yeah,
Correct.
I'm actually have to agree with you on that.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
And children, and if you are stopping at one,
right,
then you got less stress. But if you have 2, 3, 4,
exactly.
then it all adds up, and then you're
Right.
looking at your own income, your wife's income. Yeah, unless like I mentioned earlier in our when we went before this session with you guys, then if your great your grandparents has left some legacy to you, then
Tanah lah, you mean?
everything
If your grandparents got tinggalkan you tanah and all that kind of thing lah.
it becomes
But,
it's
yeah.
really a smooth thing for you lah, you
Yeah.
know.
Hidden
smooth
property
journey.
somewhere in Malaysia or in the US, I don't know.
That's all.
Okay, all right.
So
So
planning to me is just
But
it's
actually,
planning.
I have actually come across someone who happened to have that. Yeah, I just talked to someone who actually told me that he has property from his grandfather, warehouse and all that, and under his name. Yeah, but that's rare, right?
Right. Okay, so since we're on it, just to share with you, like,
Right.
this is something which is, because we're talking about property, this is something, or legacy. Okay, this is we all of us have a set of parents, and we have 2 sets of grandparents, and we have 4 sets of great grandparents, right? Okay, we remember our parents' name. Can you remember your grandparents' name?
yes,
Okay, can you remember your great grandparents' name?
yes, I guess.
Your great grandparents,
Yep.
you know their name by heart?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, I can remember as well.
Your great grandparents. No, yeah.
But not your great grandparents lah, right?
So for
Yeah.
me, I remember my grandparents' name. My grandparents, I got 4 sets. So I only remember 1 or 2 of them names. If you're talking about their parents, I totally don't have lah. But the reason I don't remember their names is because they didn't leave me anything behind. If
Yep.
they had left me some money, I'm sure I remember their names, man. So come back to us, how do we want to be remembered by our children or great grandchildren? So this is another part.
This is
that I
one
think-
question I want to ask you.
Yeah.
Right. Do you think that there is a culture of leaving behind a legacy parent in other cultures, the ethnic group?
Okay, if you go by culture, culture-wise, okay, the Muslim culture, or you're talking about race culture, it's a 2 different thing from my understanding. If you're talking about the, let's say, Malay Muslim, not many doing that. They are doing that. They are progressing. They used to. It came to a point where things get really expensive, and some get too smart and they start to liquidate early. Some get too smart to use that, and then. But if you're talking about the non-Malays, whether Muslim or not Muslim, they're still holding on to that of trying to leave a legacy, because it's more of the experience. They experience some, and they have to pass on. Because our community, I think there's one part is there's a gap they did not experience because they liquidate, they blow it out somehow, then that gap is not experiencing it, and therefore the next gap is not doing it to have
So when
something.
you say that they liquidate early, right? So it comes back to the problem of people when having too much money, they don't know what to do with it. They don't know what. Then they just
Education.
spend everything away.
And maybe we're talking about 2 generations ago
Is
or
that
what.
what usually happens, Made?
Yeah, education. There's no education, or the system in a way made them be of a disadvantage. Without us going to details of why so the system put them in a state of a disadvantage. So they may not have the education, they may not have that vision, or their vision was and their dream was taken away. They had a vision
so
and the dream was
that,
taken
that
away.
comes to the next question. Insurance only for people who have money, middle class income, or even someone who earns, let's say, $2,000 a month can still afford insurance.
Good question. Because there's a lot of misconception about this. Insurance is expensive. It's not worth it. Some of the misconception is I'm young. I don't need insurance now, or I don't have dependents. Okay, insurance actually there's a basically a kind of like you don't have to spend so much on it. Okay, it's just a small fraction of your income you put aside towards insurance. I know some don't have a budget, especially in Singapore, is really tight. But we have to. But even though things are really tight and our income is limited, when it comes to the end of the month, things still get paid. We still able to manage. You know, so it's just that about paying yourself first and then spending the rest. So if you see that value in insurance, you would probably put aside a small amount towards the premiums of the insurance, then you spend the rest for whatever plans that you have, then your bills and your own personal expenses. So yes, it doesn't have to be so expensive because it gets more expensive if you don't have one. Nobody will be bankrupt because you buy insurance, but without insurance, you can be bankrupt. You know, when tragedy falls, you can be bankrupt because you don't have insurance.
Yeah, I totally agree. Totally agree. So, to our listeners and our viewers right now who's tuning in, uh, why is it really important? I mean, if you're okay, say for example, if our viewers and our listeners now are looking at investing into their children's education, because we spoke about that earlier, isn't it?
Yep.
Uh, why is it important for them to start early, like now? You know, they have to buy it now. Why? Why do you think that is so?
Okay. I will just bring you guys to the day that you guys save up for your wedding.
Okay.
Okay. When someone who wants to get married and want to save up for their wedding, right?
Right.
Okay. Many that we know, they started saving when the time they say, I just got engaged. So I got 3 years. Got to save up a certain amount of money.
Right.
Right? They basically doing 2-3 jobs and basically saving almost 100% of their salary because they got only 3 years to make sure they have the money to get married. Right? This is common, right? You know, all our friends are doing that, or people that we know, or even I myself, maybe back then, you know, we were at one point, we were like saving every dime just to get married. But you see, in that short time, you basically have to save almost 100% of your money just to get to $20,000-$30,000 for your wedding that you want to spend for one day. So if you are now as a parent and you have your liabilities of your daily bills, your necessities to pay, your transport, your kids' education, you want to on a daily basis, their own expenses you have to cover, you cannot be putting 100% of your income just because you just finish NS, you're going to or you are going to NS now and start saving for your next for your education university. You don't have that time, and plus you have to put a lot more money. But if you go towards saving early, when you start early, you just have to put aside $200. $200. If you put, let's say, your kid just put it this way, you just your kid just 1 years old and is going to go to university when the person is like 20 years old. You got about 20 years run of savings. You put $200 in an insurance tool or insurance product, he can get you about 100, 200,000 when he gets 20 years old.
Yep.
So he get that money. So is where you really, when you start early, you have that money ready for them. And at the end of the day, this money is your money. It's not their money. You can buy an insurance under their name, but the money still comes to you. So when they get to that age and they don't feel like studying, that money you already got the money ready for yourself to spend.
True.
It's better to have than not to have it.
True, correct. So in a way, you have to like understand that it's also a form of investment in the long term
It
as
is,
well.
it is
Right?
an
It is.
investment.
Yes, definitely. Okay, let's touch on a little bit about mortgage insurance,
Okay.
right? Because you mentioned that by taking up insurances, you can lower the mortgage loan, right?
Yes.
That's correct, because that is what you
mentioned-
claim, isn't it?
Yes. Not specifically a mortgage insurance. Okay. Okay. I will just use ourselves. Okay, we in Singapore, yeah, we the housing policies
Right.
allows us Singaporeans to use our CPF funds to finance our mortgage for HDB or even private housing. So at the same time, we have this pressure of trying to pay off this by a certain period, and with the introduction of the minimum sum before you can get some money out of your CPF for your retirement, you have to fulfill both. Right? Is that a big pressure? You have to fulfill both. You have to settle your mortgage with your CPF, and you have to have your CPF ready for your retirement minimum sum. And then on top of that, like Ardy mentioned earlier, you haven't even touched on that part where your CPF will be used by your children for their education.
Correct.
So there's all these factors. So okay, you can actually lower up to 10 years or 15 years of the tenure by having an insurance. Okay, I'll just give an example which I use quite commonly. Okay, let's say you buy a HDB, a 4-room HDB, after deducting the 10% down payment, deposit, everything, you take a loan about 300,000, right? And then your interest rate is about 2.6% for HDB. Taking HDB loan 2.6%. Then with the current ruling, you can loan for 25 years or until 65, whichever it is. I think 25 years. I will just use 25 years. Okay, so you need to settle this mortgage 25 years finish. So, okay, I can reduce this by 10 years. And if you're looking at 300,000, your monthly installment that you'll be deducting from your CPF OA is about $1,360. Yeah, I've done the maths before because I got these numbers all the time in my head. So 1,361 is about
Okay.
that. So if you're 50-50 with your wife, one person is about 680. So deducting from the CPF OA, 680 per person, so it's about 1,360. Okay. But if you have an insurance, so how do we work from this? If I were used to use my calculator, if I were to calculate, after 15 years of paying your CPF, paying your mortgage loan, repay back this, after 15 years of repaying on your 300,000 loan, you will be down to about 147,000 in loan balance.
Right.
Okay. So knowing this figure, 147,000, I will devise a plan for you to be able to have this money to pay it off. So how do I do it? So there's 15 years. So that means your loan is 25 years. At 15-year mark, you
cashed out.
fully pay out.
Okay.
Fully pay out. So how I do it? You do not need a big amount of money, right? You do not need a big amount of money. With about $450 a month. Earlier I mentioned 680 per person by CPF to pay off the loan, right? To pay off the loan. Now I'm just asking from both husband and wife, can you both give me about 450 every month? $450 every month for the next 15 years, I can get you the 147,000.
Right.
So 15 years, you give me that time, 15 years. So when it reaches 15 years, I'll give you 147,000. You take that 147,000, you go to HDB, right? You pay off the loan in full, and you have free up your CPF to grow for your minimum sum.
Right.
On top of that, you also save yourself in a way, if you were to sell your property, you'll be getting it in cash with less accrued interest to pay back. Remember, if you use your CPF to finance all your home loan, you will have to, when you sell your property, yes, that accrued interest that you have to put back. So using less CPF means you pay back less accrued interest to yours. So that's how I work it.
Very
Yeah?
interesting. Yeah, it's
So
really.
yeah,
But
so many people
what's the
have this.
percentage per annum to actually build that?
I'm going on the 7%. I'm going on 7%. For that numbers, I'm going on 7%. And 7% can achieve you that. And if you, let's say, even with that, and if you being consistent, okay, let's say you're talking about now giving that $450 I mentioned earlier, instead of going for 15 years, you go for 30 years. At the 15-year mark, you draw the money, you pay off the loan, you keep doing the 450. Another 15 years down the road, you have this money for your retirement. So it is a one product that can serve both, and you can withdraw the money at different time. And even at that point, example, in the future, at the 15-year mark, you decide to, hey, you don't need this to pay for our house. You can use this money to buy our second house. Hey, there you go. You got some money, man. Then use it. Or even you say your kids probably say, hey, we're gonna still use our CPF to finance the house. Maybe we change of plan, because our priorities change as we grow older. Certain things change. But at that point, we see that, okay, let's not pay a house fully. Let's use this to finance our kids' education. The money is there. But the idea of it, the calculation of it, is we have to find a benchmark for a calculation. So I'm using this as a benchmark for one of this calculation.
Right.
So there's a lot of people misunderstanding of how insurance can work. One of the worst misunderstanding that people have, or misconception, is people will say, "Ala, insurance only you can taste the money after die only. After die, then you don't even taste the money. Only the people you leave it behind for other people to taste." But that is totally wrong, because to my experience, it speaks that it's not for the dead. It is for the living to continue living with dignity. You leave the money for your family to continue living. Their lifestyle don't change. Don't overnight suddenly they have to, cannot do this, cannot do that. They have to, all their programs, all the plans that you had for them while you were alive all change.
Right.
That's one thing. Secondly is, if you are disabled, because normally insurance, for protection insurance, it has two parts of it. When you buy one, it comes with two parts. It's either they pay you when you are dead, they pay to your family, or they give you the lump sum if you're totally and disabled. So if you're totally disabled, you become a burden to your family. Your family have to take care of you.
Right.
But if you become a burden to them, but you have money, it becomes easier for them to take care of you. But if you becomes a burden, but they have to fork out the money, then they are doing it out of obligation of love. So it's a bit more difficult.
I totally agree with that, because I had a friend who bought an instrument, bought an insurance policy for his mortgage. Say, for example, if he pass away, or either one of his, not either one of his lah, basically his lah, his spouse lah. If his spouse pass away as well, right? So the insurance would cover roughly about 300 to 400,000. You see, so he will get that 300, 400,000, and he can actually use it to pay for his property.
Yep.
And you can actually use that 300,000, 400,000 to whatever you want in that sense, right? So I totally agree with what you said, because it actually helps. Even if the spouse pass away,
Yeah.
because normally a spouse, if for example, he actually shared the tenancy for his mortgage, for his property. So if his spouse passed away, so that means he's paying it by himself. But now after his spouse already passed away, he will get that 300,000, 400,000 and use it to actually lighten his burden, lighten his load, isn't it? Right.
That is mortgage insurance itself.
Right.
That is what we actually, for if you are financing your property using CPF, more than often you have this thing called HPS.
Okay.
HPS is Home Protection Scheme,
Right.
which is a mortgage insurance.
Okay.
And if you are taking loan from a bank will recommend you to buy a mortgage insurance, and then that will be from outside companies like that, from all the existing financial institutions.
Okay.
It will be different. Yeah, but the instrument is the same. It works the same.
Right,
It's
right.
either or, the passing of your the demise of your partner,
Yep.
then the house become fully paid.
So yeah, I think it's really important for someone who's really interested to take up a policy, for example, to really sit down with your agent, your financial planner, and really check with them exactly what different policies they have in offer for you, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's no one policy that
Correct.
meets all needs. There isn't one because the health hospitalization policy is different, death or life policy is different, critical illness another policy which is a lot people don't understand.
Right. So how can our listeners and our viewers right now, catch up with you or basically keep in contact with you, Mahathir?
I'm easy to spot. First and foremost, my name is very big. My name is Mahathir for a very small person. So you can look me up on Facebook. My name is Mahathir Abdul. That's one word, Mahathir Abdul Abdul. So I'm on with this same handle. You can find me on IG, Instagram. You can find me on LinkedIn, and you can find me on Twitter. But of course, my number is always busy. My number is not a secret. I give it to everybody. My number is 912-55225. I repeat, 912-55225. I've got for you guys also to share this part with about insurance, which some people may not be familiar with. It's about businesses. If you are business partners, right? You can buy insurance for each other.
Or just in case someone pass away, or just in case someone break the partnership?
More to when someone pass away, because if you have
Okay.
a partnership, imagine if your partner pass away and there is an asset in the company.
Right.
I'm sure the family going to come after it, right? And you don't want to partner with a family member who does not know anything about the business or who will ruin the business with coming in. So they want to be part of it. So you better off you paying them off their share. So there's there's a way that you can buy insurance, assigning it to each other.
Right.
So then when the time comes, you just like, okay, here's money I'm buying off the share of my late partner to the family. So it can be used as that.
First time actually I've heard about that.
Yeah, that's why it's a lot that people don't understand about how you can use insurance. And actually, in times like this, like COVID, people are actually looking at their current insurance and to see if they can get some money out of it, whether they can get a loan from it also. You can get a loan from your own policy. Do you know that?
Okay.
There's such thing as a
It's
policy
really
loan.
interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, there's a lot of things I guess
I-
you
I-
really want to know.
I would definitely want to dwell much into it though, but we are really running out of time. So Adi, do you have any last
Sure.
question for Mahathir before we end the session?
Okay, definitely. First and foremost, I would say be open. Don't immediately shut somebody off because you don't know what they come to you with. And to choose, there's no perfect person, but make sure choose someone who's already experienced, been in the industry for some time, or someone you know and you trust is even better.
Right.
At least you can, at the point of claim, you can find this person to help you. So that is all my advice. Someone you trust is the best.
Someone you trust and who can help you when the
Yeah, you can. It doesn't disappear. We do have friends on Facebook, or some colleagues that we know suddenly disappear on Facebook. Then many years down the road, suddenly reappear again. We prefer not to have these people because when you need them at the point of claims, because they were the one to help you at the point of
True, I
claims.
totally agree with
Oh.
that. Yeah. Okay, right. So thank you very much,
Thank you
Mahathir.
guys. Thank you. It was
you, Mahathir.
enlightening also to have this session with you guys.
Oh, it's been a pleasure, I would say. Yeah, it really enlightens us, in fact. So, to our listeners, our viewers as well, please do like and share. And of course, I would prefer if you guys would follow us in Spotify as well, because our podcast is very much available there as well. So, if there is any need for you guys, if you are interested to find out a little bit more about what kind of insurance would suit you and your family, then I would definitely recommend Mahathir to you guys, right?
Thank
Call
you.
him right now, WhatsApp him. If really given his contact number to you guys, please feel free to contact him.
Follow these guys also. They are on a good mission, guys.
Okay then, so thank you very much, Mahathir.
Thank you.
very much.
Thank you
So
for having me.
you're welcome, Adi.
Yeah, thanks Mahathir for coming on the show, and definitely I enjoyed this session and
Thank you.
awesome information that I have gotten today. I'm sure the audience also have enjoyed it. Yeah. So yeah.
Okay then. So let's close it for this evening, I would say. Right. So till we meet again, till the next session. Thank you guys. Take care and stay safe.